Maria Santos never imagined that scrubbing floors at the naval base would change her life forever. Every morning at 5 sharp, she arrived at the military compound with her cleaning supplies, ready to tackle another day of making the barracks spotless. The other cleaning staff often complained about the demanding work, but Maria found peace in the routine. She had been doing this job for 3 years, ever since her husband died in a car accident, leaving her to raise their 2 young children alone. The Navy SEALs' quarters were always her most challenging assignment. These elite soldiers were neat compared to regular troops, but their standards were incredibly high. Every surface had to shine. Every corner had to be perfect. Maria took pride in meeting their expectations, even though most of the SEALs barely acknowledged her presence. She was just part of the background, invisible like most cleaning staff. On this particular Tuesday morning, Maria was working in the common area when she heard shouting outside. Through the window, she could see a group of SEALs doing their morning training. They were running obstacle courses, carrying heavy packs, and pushing themselves to their limits. Maria paused her mopping to watch them, fascinated by their strength and determination. She had always been athletic in her younger days, playing soccer in high school and even running in local marathons before her children were born. Commander Jake Mitchell noticed the small woman watching from the window. He had seen her around the base many times, always working quietly and efficiently. Unlike other cleaning staff who often chatted or took breaks, this woman seemed completely focused on her work. There was something different about the way she carried herself, a quiet strength that caught his attention. During lunch break, Maria was cleaning the gym when she heard voices approaching. Commander Mitchell and 2 other SEALs entered, discussing their afternoon training session. One of them, Lieutenant Rodriguez, was complaining about a pulled muscle that would keep him out of the upcoming fitness test. They needed someone to help demonstrate proper form for the new recruits, but they were short on available personnel. Maria continued working, trying not to eavesdrop, but she couldn't help overhearing their conversation. They were talking about basic exercises that she knew well from her own fitness routine. Even though she was now in her 30s and spent her days cleaning, Maria still maintained her physical fitness. She worked out at home every morning before coming to the base, using exercises she had learned from online videos and fitness magazines. As she wiped down the exercise equipment, Maria found herself mentally going through the movements they were discussing. She knew she could demonstrate proper push-up form, correct squat technique, and even some of the basic combat conditioning exercises. Her body remembered the muscle memory from her athletic days, even though she had never received formal military training. Commander Mitchell noticed Maria's careful attention to their conversation. Most civilians would have shown some intimidation around Navy SEALs, but this cleaning woman seemed completely at ease. He watched as she efficiently cleaned each piece of equipment, her movements precise and economical. There was something almost military about her bearing, even in civilian clothes with cleaning supplies in hand. The conversation shifted to the upcoming recruitment assessment. They needed to evaluate potential candidates' basic fitness levels, but with Rodriguez injured, they were missing a key person to help with demonstrations. The new recruits would be arriving next week, and proper demonstration was crucial for their initial assessment. These young people needed to see exactly what was expected of them from day one. Maria finished cleaning the last machine and started to pack up her supplies. As she bent to pick up her bucket, she noticed Commander Mitchell watching her. For a moment, their eyes met, and she felt a strange sense of recognition, as if he was seeing something in her that others missed. She quickly looked away and continued gathering her equipment. The 3 SEALs were still discussing their staffing problem when Maria accidentally knocked over a small weight while reaching for her mop. The weight rolled across the floor and, without thinking, she quickly moved to retrieve it. Her movement was fluid and controlled, showing the kind of body awareness that usually came from years of physical training. Commander Mitchell stepped forward and picked up the weight, handing it to Maria with a slight smile. "Thank you, ma'am," he said politely. Maria nodded and took the weight, placing it back in its proper position with the kind of precision that impressed him even more. Most people would have just put it somewhere close, but she placed it exactly where it belonged. As Maria headed toward the door with her cleaning cart, she could feel the commander's eyes following her. She had worked on this base long enough to recognize when someone was evaluating her, and something told her that this brief interaction was more significant than it appeared. She had no idea that her life was about to take a completely unexpected turn. The next morning, Maria arrived at work to find a note waiting for her. It was from Commander Mitchell, asking her to report to the training facility after her regular cleaning duties were completed. The note was polite but official, and Maria spent the entire day wondering what she could have done wrong. Had she missed something in her cleaning? Was there a complaint about her work? When she finally made her way to the training facility that afternoon, her heart was pounding with nervous energy. She found Commander Mitchell waiting for her, along with the same 2 SEALs from the day before. They were standing near the obstacle course, and Maria wondered if they were going to ask her to clean some equipment she had missed. Commander Mitchell greeted Maria with a professional nod as she approached the training area. The afternoon sun was beating down on the obstacle course, and Maria could see sweat stains on the equipment from the morning's training session. She clutched her cleaning supplies, expecting to be told about some area that needed attention, but the commander's first words surprised her completely. "Mrs. Santos," he began, using her name for the first time since she had started working at the base. "I've been watching you work for several months now, and I've noticed something about the way you move. You have better posture and body control than most of the recruits we see coming through here." Maria felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. She hadn't realized anyone was paying attention to how she carried herself while working. "Thank you, sir," she replied quietly, unsure of what else to say. She had always tried to maintain good posture, partly from her mother's constant reminders when she was young, and partly because her physically demanding job required it. Lieutenant Rodriguez stepped forward, his arm still in a sling from his injury. "We have a situation, ma'am," he explained. "Next week, we're evaluating a group of potential recruits, and we need someone to help demonstrate basic fitness techniques. Our usual demonstration team is either deployed or injured." Maria looked between the 3 men, confused about why they were telling her this. "I'm sorry about the injury," she said to Rodriguez. "Is there something I can clean or prepare for the demonstrations?" Commander Mitchell exchanged a glance with his teammates before continuing. "Actually, we were wondering if you might be interested in helping us with the demonstrations themselves. I know it sounds unusual, but we need someone who can show proper form for basic exercises." The suggestion hit Maria like a physical blow. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. These elite soldiers were asking her, a cleaning woman, to help train potential military recruits? It seemed impossible, like something from a movie rather than real life. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding," Maria finally managed to say. "I'm just part of the cleaning crew. I don't have any military training or qualifications. I wouldn't know the first thing about training recruits." Commander Mitchell smiled, and for the first time since Maria had known him, his expression seemed genuinely warm rather than professionally polite. "Mrs. Santos, military training builds on basic physical fitness, and good fitness starts with proper form. I've watched you move, and you have natural athletic ability that can't be taught." Maria thought about her morning workout routine, the exercises she did in her small apartment before her children woke up. Push-ups against her kitchen counter, squats while her coffee brewed, stretches in her living room. It was nothing fancy, just her way of staying strong enough to handle her demanding job and keep up with her active kids. "I do exercise at home," she admitted hesitantly. "But that's just to stay healthy. It's not the same as military training." Lieutenant Torres, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Ma'am, with respect, half the recruits we get can't do a proper push-up when they arrive. They have strength, but no technique." What we need is someone who can show them the right way to move their body. Maria felt a flutter of something she hadn't experienced in years, excitement mixed with terror. When was the last time someone had asked her to do something important? Something beyond cleaning and taking care of her family? The idea was both thrilling and absolutely terrifying. "What exactly would I need to do?" she asked, surprising herself with the question. She hadn't meant to show interest, but the words came out anyway. Commander Mitchell gestured toward the obstacle course. "Basic demonstrations, push-ups, sit-ups, proper running form, maybe some simple agility work. Nothing dangerous or beyond. Normal fitness activities. We just need someone who can show the recruits what right looks like." Maria looked at the intimidating obstacle course with its ropes, walls, and various challenging elements. "I've never done anything like that," she said, pointing at the more complex equipment. "We're not asking you to complete the SEAL training course," Rodriguez laughed. "Just the basic fitness components that any athletic person could handle. Think of it like being a fitness instructor, not a military trainer." The comparison to a fitness instructor made it seem more manageable. Maria had always thought she might enjoy teaching exercise classes if her life had taken a different path. Before her husband's death, they had talked about her maybe getting certified as a personal trainer someday, but that dream had been buried along with many others. "When would this happen?" Maria asked, still not believing she was seriously considering their offer. "The recruits arrive Monday for a week-long assessment," Commander Mitchell explained. "We'd need you for about 2 hours each day after your regular work shift ends. You'd be compensated for the extra time, of course." Maria's practical side immediately kicked in. Extra money would help with her children's school expenses and maybe allow her to fix her car, which had been making concerning noises lately. But the financial incentive wasn't what made her heart race. It was the idea of doing something that mattered, something that could help other people achieve their goals. "Could I think about it?" she asked. "This is a big decision for me." "Of course," Commander Mitchell replied. "But I need an answer by Friday so we can make other arrangements if necessary." As Maria walked back to finish her cleaning duties, her mind was spinning with possibilities and doubts. Could she really help train military recruits? What if she embarrassed herself in front of everyone? What if she wasn't as capable as the commander seemed to think? That evening, as she helped her children with homework and prepared dinner, Maria couldn't stop thinking about the conversation. Her 8-year-old daughter Sophia noticed her distraction and asked if everything was okay at work. "Everything's fine, mija," Maria replied, but she knew that wasn't entirely true. Everything was about to change, and she had no idea whether that change would be wonderful or disastrous. All she knew was that for the first time in 3 years, someone was asking her to be more than just invisible. Friday morning arrived faster than Maria had expected. She had spent 3 sleepless nights weighing her decision, talking herself in and out of accepting Commander Mitchell's offer dozens of times. Her sister Carmen thought she was crazy to even consider it, while her neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez encouraged her to take the chance. But ultimately, the decision came down to a conversation with her children. Thursday evening, after tucking her son Miguel into bed, Maria sat with Sophia at the kitchen table. Her daughter was coloring while Maria pretended to read a magazine, but her mind was elsewhere entirely. Finally, Sophia looked up with her father's dark eyes and asked the question that had been haunting Maria all week. "Mama, why do you always look sad when you come home from work?" The innocent question hit Maria harder than any criticism ever could. She realized that her children were watching her more closely than she thought, seeing things she tried to hide. They saw their mother, going through the motions of life without any real joy or excitement. "I'm not sad, mija," Maria replied automatically, but Sophia's skeptical expression told her the 8-year-old wasn't buying it. "You used to smile more before Daddy died," Sophia said matter-of-factly. "Now you only really smile when we're being funny or when we hug you." but not when you talk about work or when you think we're not looking." That night, Maria made her decision. She would say yes to Commander Mitchell, not because she was sure she could succeed, but because she needed to try. Her children deserved to see their mother taking chances and pursuing opportunities, even scary ones. Friday afternoon, Maria found Commander Mitchell in his office and knocked on the open door. He looked up from his paperwork with a questioning expression, and Maria took a deep breath before speaking. "I'll do it," she said simply. "I'll help with the recruit demonstrations." Commander Mitchell's face broke into a genuine smile. "Outstanding, Mrs. Santos. I was hoping you'd say yes. Let's go over what you'll need to know." The next few hours were a whirlwind of information. Maria learned about the basic fitness requirements for military recruits, the proper form for various exercises, and the importance of safety during physical training. Commander Mitchell and his team walked her through each demonstration she would need to perform, and Maria was surprised to discover she already knew most of the techniques. "You mentioned you exercise at home," Lieutenant Torres said as they practiced proper push-up form. "What's your routine like?" Maria felt embarrassed describing her simple home workouts, but the SEALs listened with genuine interest. They asked detailed questions about her techniques and were impressed by her consistency. 3 years of daily exercise had given her a solid foundation, even if she hadn't realized it. "Your form is actually better than most of our recruits," Rodriguez observed as Maria demonstrated squats. "You've been doing this correctly all along. We just need to teach you how to explain it to others." The weekend flew by in a blur of preparation. Maria practiced her demonstrations at home, using her living room as a makeshift training area. Her children thought it was hilarious to see their mother doing military-style exercises, and they started joining in, turning it into a family game. Monday. Morning arrived with perfect weather, clear skies and comfortable temperatures. Maria completed her regular cleaning duties with unusual efficiency, her mind focused on the afternoon's challenge. She had packed a change of clothes, trading her cleaning uniform for athletic wear that made her feel more confident and capable. At 2 o'clock sharp, Maria arrived at the training facility to find 15 young recruits waiting nervously in formation. They were both men and women, ranging in age from 18 to their mid-20s, all looking eager and intimidated in equal measure. Maria felt a surge of empathy for them, remembering her own nervousness from just a few days earlier. "Commander." Mitchell addressed the group with his characteristic authority. "Recruits, today begins your physical assessment period. Proper form is crucial for both performance and injury prevention. Mrs. Santos will be demonstrating the correct techniques for basic fitness exercises." Maria felt every pair of eyes turn toward her, and for a moment her confidence wavered. These young people were looking at her with curiosity and some confusion. She clearly wasn't what they had expected from a military fitness instructor. She was just a middle-aged cleaning woman in workout clothes, not an intimidating drill sergeant. But then Maria remembered Sophia's words about smiling, and she realized this was her chance to show her children that their mother was capable of more than they knew. She stepped forward with newfound determination. "Good afternoon, everyone," Maria said, her voice stronger than she felt. "I know I might not look like what you expected, but I'm here to help you understand the basics of proper exercise form. These techniques will serve you well throughout your military careers." The first exercise was push-ups, and Maria positioned herself where everyone could see. "The key to a good push-up isn't just strength," she explained, dropping into perfect position. "It's about maintaining proper alignment from your head to your heels." As Maria demonstrated the movement, she noticed several recruits adjusting their own posture instinctively. Her clear explanation and precise form were having an immediate impact. She completed 10 perfect repetitions, then stood to address common mistakes she had observed. "I can see some of you letting your hips sag or raising them too high," Maria said, walking among the recruits as they practiced. think of your body as a straight board. Every muscle needs to work together. For the next hour, Maria guided the recruits through various exercises, offering encouragement and corrections in equal measure. She found herself naturally adapting her explanations to different learning styles, helping some recruits with hands-on adjustments while giving others verbal cues that clicked for them. What surprised Maria most was how much she enjoyed teaching. The recruits responded well to her patient approach and clear instructions. Unlike the intimidating atmosphere they might have expected, Maria created an environment where they felt safe to ask questions and make mistakes while learning. As the session ended, several recruits approached Maria to thank her personally. One young woman named Jessica lingered after the others had left. "Ma'am," Jessica said hesitantly, "can I ask you something? How did you learn to do all this so well? Were you in the military?" Maria smiled, thinking of her simple home workouts and years of cleaning floors. "No, I was never in the military. I just learned that taking care of your body is important, and I practiced until I got it right, the same way you will." Tuesday's training session revealed a problem that Maria hadn't anticipated. 3 of the recruits were struggling significantly with the basic exercises, not because they lacked strength, but because they had developed bad habits from incorrect training. One young man named David could barely complete a single proper push-up, despite claiming he had been working out for months preparing for military service. Maria watched David attempt another push-up, his form collapsing as his elbows flared out and his back sagged. Frustration was written across his face, and she could see his confidence crumbling with each failed attempt. The other recruits were progressing steadily, making his struggles even more apparent. "David, can you stay after the others for a few minutes?" Maria asked quietly as the session ended. She had learned from Commander Mitchell that individual attention was sometimes necessary, but it should be handled with dignity and respect. When they were alone, David's shoulders slumped in defeat. "I'm going to wash out, aren't I?" he asked. "I trained so hard before coming here, but everything I learned was wrong." Maria recognized the despair in his voice. It was the same feeling she had experienced when her husband died, and she felt completely unprepared for the challenges ahead. "David, can I tell you something? 3 years ago, I couldn't do a single push-up correctly either." David looked skeptical. "But you make it look so easy now." "That's because I practiced the wrong way for months before someone showed me the right technique," Maria explained. "You're not starting from zero. You have the strength. We just need to retrain your muscles to remember the correct pattern." For the next 30 minutes, Maria worked with David individually, breaking down the push-up into smaller components. She had him practice just the top position, holding perfect form without moving. Then they worked on controlled descent and finally, the pushing motion. By the end of their session, David completed 3 perfect push-ups. "How did you know how to fix what I was doing wrong?" David asked as they finished. Maria thought about her answer carefully. "I've made every mistake you can make with exercise form. When you've done something wrong 100 times, you learn to recognize the problem quickly in others." Word of Maria's individual coaching session spread among the recruits, and by Wednesday, several others were asking for extra help. Maria found herself staying after the regular sessions to work with recruits who needed additional support. Commander Mitchell noticed but didn't interfere, recognizing that Maria's approach was getting results. Wednesday brought a new challenge when recruit Jessica collapsed during a running exercise. She wasn't seriously injured, just dehydrated and overwhelmed, but the incident shook Maria's confidence. What if someone got hurt during her demonstrations? What if her lack of formal training put the recruits at risk? That evening, Maria approached Commander Mitchell with her concerns. "Sir, I'm worried that I'm not qualified to be responsible for these young people's safety. What happened today with Jessica scared me." Commander Mitchell studied Maria's worried expression before responding. "Mrs. Santos, Jessica's collapse had nothing to do with your instruction. She didn't eat breakfast and didn't drink enough water. That's on her, not you." but I understand your concern. He led Maria to his office and pulled out a folder. I want to show you something. These are the assessment reports from this week's recruits. Their improvement in form and technique is remarkable. Lieutenant Rodriguez, who's been doing recruit training for 5 years, says he's never seen faster progress in basic fitness skills. Maria looked at the reports, seeing positive comments about technique improvement and exercise comprehension. But what struck her most were the personal notes several recruits had written, thanking her for her patience and encouragement. The truth is, Commander Mitchell continued, you're teaching them more than just exercise form. You're showing them that improvement comes from practice and patience, not just natural ability. That's a lesson that will serve them well throughout their military careers. Thursday's session included the most challenging demonstration yet, basic obstacle course elements. Maria had practiced the movements over the weekend, but performing them in front of 15 recruits felt completely different. The first obstacle was a 6-foot wall that required upper body strength and technique to overcome. Maria approached the wall with determination, using the proper footwork and hand placement she had learned. She scaled it smoothly on her first attempt, landing safely on the other side before climbing back over to rejoin the group. The recruits burst into spontaneous applause, and Maria felt a surge of pride, unlike anything she had experienced in years. The key to any obstacle, Maria explained, slightly out of breath but smiling, is to break it down into steps. Don't look at the whole wall. Focus on where to place your foot first, then your hands, then your next foot. Each movement leads to the next. As the recruits practiced, Maria moved among them, offering encouragement and technique corrections. She noticed that her approach was different from the SEAL's more intimidating style. She focused on building confidence while maintaining high standards. One recruit named Marcus was particularly struggling with fear rather than ability. He had the strength to complete the obstacle, but froze every time he approached the wall. Maria recognized the signs of someone who had been told they couldn't succeed so many times they believed it. Marcus, Maria said quietly, what's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? The question caught him off guard. I don't know. Maybe getting my GED after I dropped out of high school. How long did that take? 2 years of night school? While working full-time, Maria nodded. So you already know how to do hard things that take time and practice. This wall is nothing compared to that. It's just 1 day's worth of difficulty, not 2 years. Marcus looked at the wall with new eyes, then back at Maria. You really think I can do this? I know you can, Maria replied with complete certainty. I've seen you do much harder things. On his next attempt, Marcus scaled the wall successfully. As he landed on the other side, his whoop of triumph was loud enough to be heard across the training facility. Maria felt tears of joy threatening to spill over. Watching someone overcome their fear and succeed was more rewarding than any paycheck she had ever received. That evening, as Maria helped her children with homework, Sophia looked up from her math problems and said, Mama, you look different lately. You look different. You look like you do when you're really happy about something. Maria realized her daughter was right. For the first time in 3 years, she was excited to go to work each day. She was making a real difference in people's lives, using skills she hadn't even known she possessed. Tomorrow would bring the final day of recruit assessment, and Maria found herself hoping this opportunity wouldn't end there. Friday morning arrived with an unexpected surprise. Maria found a formal letter waiting for her in the cleaning supervisor's office, with instructions to report to Commander Mitchell immediately after completing her regular duties. The letter was signed by someone much higher up the chain of command than she had ever dealt with. Colonel Sarah Henderson, Base Operations Director. Maria spent her entire cleaning shift wondering what she had done wrong. Had someone complained about her training methods? Was she in trouble for working with the recruits without proper certification? By the time she finished mopping the last floor, her hands were shaking with nervousness. When she arrived at Commander Mitchell's office, she found him waiting with Colonel Henderson and two other senior officers she didn't recognize. The formal atmosphere made Maria's heart sink. This looked like the kind of meeting where someone gets fired, not praised. "Mrs. Santos," Colonel Henderson began, her voice crisp and professional. "Please, have a seat. We need to discuss your work with the recruits this week." Maria sat down carefully, trying to prepare herself for whatever criticism was coming. "Yes, ma'am. If I did something wrong with the training, I apologize. I know I don't have formal qualifications." Colonel Henderson exchanged a glance with Commander Mitchell before continuing. "Mrs. Santos, we've received the assessment reports from this week's recruit evaluation. Your impact on their performance has been extraordinary." Maria blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry, ma'am." "The recruits' improvement in basic fitness scores was the highest we've seen in over 2 years," one of the other officers explained. "But, more importantly, their confidence and motivation levels are off the charts. We've had several requests from recruits asking if you'll be involved in their continuing training." Maria felt like she was in a dream. "I don't understand. Are you saying I did something right?" Colonel Henderson smiled, the first time Maria had seen her expression soften. "Mrs. Santos, you did everything right. The question is whether you'd be interested in making this a permanent arrangement." The room fell silent as Maria tried to process what she was hearing. "Permanent arrangement?" Commander Mitchell leaned forward. "We'd like to offer you a position as a civilian fitness instructor. You'd work with new recruits, help with basic conditioning programs, and assist with technique training. It would mean giving up your cleaning job, but the pay would be significantly better." Maria's mind went completely blank. After 3 years of being invisible, of feeling like her only value was her ability to scrub floors and empty trash cans, these military officers were offering her a real career. It seemed impossible. "I don't have any certifications," Maria said weakly. "I'm not qualified for something that important." "Mrs. Santos," Colonel Henderson said firmly, "we've watched you work for 5 days. You have natural teaching ability, excellent technique, and most importantly, you connect with people. Those aren't things you can learn from a textbook. We can provide any formal training you need." Maria thought about her children, about the extra money that would help secure their future. But more than that, she thought about David successfully completing his push-ups, about Marcus conquering his fear of the obstacle wall, about Jessica thanking her for believing in her potential. "When would this position start?" Maria asked, surprising herself with the question. "Immediately, if you accept," Commander Mitchell replied. "We have another group of recruits arriving Monday, and frankly, we don't want to train them without you." That afternoon's final training session with the current recruits took on special meaning for Maria. She knew this might be her last day as a cleaning woman, and possibly her first day as something she never imagined she could become: a teacher, a coach, a person who helped others achieve their dreams. The recruits had prepared a surprise for her. When she arrived at the training facility, they were arranged in formation holding a banner that read, "Thank you, Mrs. Santos. You changed our lives." Maria felt tears streaming down her face before she could stop them. David stepped forward as the unofficial spokesperson for the group. "Ma'am, we know you probably have no idea what you've done for us this week, but we wanted you to know. You didn't just teach us how to exercise. You taught us that we could improve, that we could overcome things we thought were impossible." Jessica added, "You believed in us when we didn't believe in ourselves. That's something we'll carry with us forever." The final training session was bittersweet. Maria put the recruits through their paces one last time, watching with pride as they demonstrated the techniques they had mastered. Marcus attacked the obstacle wall with confidence, David completed 20 perfect push-ups, and Jessica led a running group with proper form and pacing. As the session ended, the recruits lined up to shake Maria's hand and say goodbye. Each one thanked her personally, and several asked if they would see her again during their training program. Maria found herself promising to watch their progress and cheer them on, even though she still hadn't given Colonel Henderson her answer about the job offer. That evening, Maria sat at her kitchen table with the job offer paperwork spread in front of her. Her children were asleep, the house was quiet, and she had time to really think about the decision that would change all their lives. The salary was more than double what she made cleaning, with benefits that would provide real security for her family. But beyond the money, this was a chance to do work that mattered, to be someone who made a difference, rather than someone who stayed invisible in the background. Maria picked up her phone and called her sister Carmen, who had been skeptical about the whole training adventure from the beginning. "Carmen, they offered me a job," Maria said without preamble when her sister answered. "A cleaning job at a different base?" "No," Maria said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "A real job, teaching fitness to military recruits. They want me to help train people who are serving our country." There was a long pause before Carmen responded. "Maria, are you serious? They want you to be an instructor?" "Yes, and I think I'm going to say yes. But you've never done anything like that before." Maria looked around her small apartment, thinking about the past week and how much had changed in such a short time. "Carmen, a week ago, I had never trained military recruits either. Sometimes you have to do things you've never done before to become who you're supposed to be." After she hung up with her sister, Maria made her final decision. She pulled out a pen and signed the employment paperwork, knowing that Monday morning would bring the beginning of a completely new life. Monday morning felt like the first day of Maria's real life. Instead of arriving with cleaning supplies and a maintenance uniform, she walked onto the naval base wearing professional athletic wear and carrying a folder of training materials. The security guard who had nodded politely at her for 3 years did a double-take when she showed her new identification badge. "Congratulations, Mrs. Santos," he said with a genuine smile. "I heard about your new position. That's really something special." Maria realized that word of her career change had spread throughout the base community. People who had barely noticed her before were now looking at her with respect and curiosity. It was overwhelming and wonderful at the same time. Her first official day included orientation meetings, safety training, and preparation for the new group of recruits arriving that afternoon. Maria met other civilian instructors and was surprised to learn that several of them had similar unconventional backgrounds. The head of the nutrition education program had been a restaurant manager, and the stress management counselor was a former social worker. "The military is learning that effective training comes from people who understand real-world challenges," explained Dr. Patricia Wells, the training program coordinator. "Your background gives you credibility with recruits who might be intimidated by career military personnel." The new group of recruits was larger than the previous week. 22 young people from diverse backgrounds, all nervous and eager to prove themselves. As Maria introduced herself, she could see the same confusion she had noticed with the first group. A middle-aged Hispanic woman in civilian clothes wasn't what they expected from a military fitness instructor. But Maria had learned something important during her first week. Authenticity was more powerful than appearance. Instead of trying to sound military or intimidating, she spoke to the recruits the same way she would talk to her own children when they faced challenges. "I know some of you are wondering who I am and why I'm here," Maria began, her voice calm and confident. "6 months ago, I was cleaning the floors in this same building. I never imagined I would be standing here as your instructor. But that's exactly why I understand what you're going through." The recruits' expressions shifted from confusion to interest. Maria continued, "Every single person in this room is capable of more than they know right now. My job is to help you discover that capability and build on it. We're going to work hard together, but we're also going to succeed together." Over the following months, Maria's reputation as an exceptional trainer grew beyond the naval base. Word spread through military training circles about the civilian instructor who was achieving remarkable results with difficult recruits. Her Success rate was unprecedented. Recruits trained by Maria had a 93% completion rate compared to the base average of 78%. What set Maria apart wasn't just her technical knowledge, which had grown substantially through formal training courses the military provided. It was her ability to see potential in people who had been written off by others. She specialized in working with recruits who struggled with traditional military training approaches, those who came from difficult backgrounds, had learning differences, or simply lacked confidence. One of her most challenging cases was a young man named Anthony who had aged out of the foster care system and joined the military as his only option for stability. He had been held back in 2 previous training programs for attitude problems and was on the verge of being discharged when he was assigned to Maria's group. "Anthony, can I ask you something personal?" Maria said during their first individual session. "What's the longest you've ever stayed in one place?" The question caught him off guard. "You mean like a house? Maybe 2 years when I was little before my mom lost custody." Maria nodded thoughtfully. "So you've learned to protect yourself by not getting too attached to places or people because you know they might disappear." Anthony's defensive posture softened slightly. "Yeah, I guess. The thing is, that survival skill that kept you safe as a kid is now working against you here. The military requires you to trust your teammates and instructors, even when it feels risky." For weeks, Maria worked with Anthony on more than just physical fitness. She helped him understand that his defensive reactions were normal given his background, but that he could choose different responses. She showed him how the structure and brotherhood of military service could provide the stability he had always craved. By graduation day, Anthony had not only completed the program successfully, but had become a leader among his fellow recruits. When he received his assignment to advanced training, he sought out Maria for a private conversation. "Ma'am, I need to tell you something," Anthony said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're the first person who ever saw good in me instead of just problems. You saved my life, and I'm not being dramatic about that." Maria felt the familiar tears that came whenever she witnessed someone discovering their own potential. "Anthony, I didn't save your life. You did that yourself. I just helped you see what was already there." As the months turned into a year, Maria's role continued to expand. She was asked to develop training materials, mentor other instructors, and consult on recruit evaluation procedures. The military was recognizing that her unconventional background was actually her greatest strength. The most rewarding aspect of her new career was the letters she received from former recruits who had gone on to successful military careers. David, the young man who couldn't do proper push-ups during her first week, had become a fitness instructor himself. Jessica had completed advanced training and was serving overseas. Marcus had overcome his fears so completely that he volunteered for the most challenging assignments. But perhaps the most meaningful change was the impact on Maria's own family. Her children saw their mother thriving in work that fulfilled her, bringing home stories of success and achievement instead of just exhaustion. Sophia, now 9, often said she wanted to help people the way her mother did. And Miguel had started, taking martial arts classes inspired by his mother's physical fitness journey. One evening, as Maria was reviewing training schedules for the following week, Sophia approached her with a school assignment. "Mama, I have to write about someone I admire," Sophia said. "Can I write about you?" Maria looked up from her paperwork, surprised. "About me? Wouldn't you rather write about someone famous or important?" Sophia's expression was serious beyond her years. "You are important, Mama. You help people believe in themselves. That's the most important job I can think of." That night, as Maria tucked her children into bed, she reflected on the incredible journey that had started with a simple conversation about cleaning floors and proper posture. She had discovered that sometimes the most profound changes in life come not from grand plans or dramatic decisions, but from saying yes to unexpected opportunities and believing in possibilities that seemed impossible. 2 years after that first, Day when Commander Mitchell noticed her watching the SEALs train, Maria received notification of a promotion to Senior Civilian Training Specialist. Along with the promotion came an invitation to speak at a national conference on innovative military training approaches. As she prepared her presentation, Maria thought about all the recruits who had taught her as much as she had taught them. They had shown her that potential exists everywhere, often in people who have been overlooked or underestimated. She had learned that true leadership isn't about commanding from a position of authority, but about helping others discover their own strength and capability. The woman who had once been invisible while cleaning barracks was now training the people who would serve and protect their country. Maria Santos had found her calling not through careful career planning, but through the courage to step forward when someone believed in her potential. And every day, she paid that gift forward by believing in the potential of others, helping them discover that they too were capable of far more than they had ever imagined. Standing in front of her mirror on the morning of the conference, Maria adjusted her professional blazer and smiled at her reflection. She was no longer the woman who had scrubbed floors in silence, hoping to remain unnoticed. She was someone who made a difference, someone whose work mattered, someone who had learned that the most important qualification for changing lives is the willingness to try.